Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to Synchronicity Web TV. I am your host, Nadiya Shah, and this is your moment of synchronicity. Well, I'm so excited to celebrate with you today, Eva Marie Javier. Now, Eva is amazing. She is stepping in last minute, and she is bringing an incredible topic to the upcoming July 2025 speaker series at Synchronicity University. As this is publishing, you literally probably have hours left or just a couple days left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class to learn from Eva and these incredible astrologers. Now, Eva and I started talking a lot before we even started recording. And I was like, okay, Eva, hold on. I got to get recording here. I know we're going to have an amazing conversation about Uranus and Gemini and so much more. Eva, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Nadiya. It's such an honor. Thank you.
Thank you so much for stepping in when we needed you to, and with such a timely topic. My goodness, Uranus and Gemini. So I will tell you, I know for a long time astrologers were, and I'm not doomy gloomy. I always like to focus on the personal because I think that's where the power is. And I try to use astrology to empower. But I know that a lot of astrologers were having some doomy, gloomy things to say for years now about Uranus in Gemini and Uranus at 29 of Taurus going into Gemini. And it feels like really sad right now. I'll be really honest. It just feels like there's strife, there's pain, there's suffering. And I mean, I know intellectually that we live in times that are more peaceful and more prosperous for more people than ever before. But still, there's this awareness, I think, of the pain, of the suffering, of war, of strife. And maybe that's part of what Uranus is as well. So what are your initial thoughts, like when I shared this with you? Because I know that that's one of the ways that this energy might be coming forward for us as we are on the precipice of the official change over into Uranus in Gemini.
Yes, I'm so glad that you mentioned that because I agree 100%. I think it was one of your previous videos where you expressed that, and it brought me to tears as well. I think you were also crying in that video, but I agree. We've come such a long way since those times we were in war last, 1800s, late 1800s. And the placements, sure, Uranus was in Gemini, but there were also other placements that encouraged and supported war. Like, I believe the North Node was in Capricorn during that time. And so that has an effect on the direction of how Uranus is going to play out. And I think when I was rabbit holing into those charts, I saw how Saturn, like the ruler of the North Node, was affecting Uranus and Gemini and all these other conflicting aspects that were in support of war. Now we have the North Node in Pisces, and Jupiter is now in Gemini, in Cancer, making a trine to the North Node. And so that's supportive. Uranus is in a trine to Pluto in Aquarius, which is supportive. There's going to be massive change and uprooting those ancestral patterns that no longer suit us. And so I feel like there's a lot more hope that people are not paying attention to that we have to shine a light on. Because sure, Uranus was in Gemini during those times of war, but also placements around it are different now. And our consciousness has expanded and is going to further expand, especially in the sign of Jupiter, where it's in a trine to the North Node in Pisces. So yeah, I'm so glad that you brought up that topic, and the direction and the feeling. Even with this new moon in Cancer conjunct Jupiter, everybody is feeling this excitement and hope that we have. Like there's something going on that we are not aware of, but from what I've been gathering from other people, they're excited, as opposed to what is being projected on the screen and, media. So yeah, I'm very excited to dive into what is to be anticipated with Uranus and Gemini. And of course, there's always a balance. There's the light and the shadow sides. So, but it's all designed and orchestrated in a beautiful way that we can trust in the outcome. We have more of an understanding with psychology and all of these new developments, and breaking ancestral ties is another thing that I wanted to bring into this, because so many of us are black sheep of the family, where we've been alienated for believing in um, like going against the status quo. But it's all intended to individuate us, which is not a bad thing. It can be alienating, and like it's in a phase where it's very uncomfortable, but that's what Uranus does. It makes us uncomfortable. It shakes us up and reshuffles us into places where we are meant to be, to help us along our spiritual path. And the individuation process is a spiritual road. So yeah, it's very exciting to connect those ideas and dive into these charts. And it's special to me because I do have like uh Uranus square my Aquarius moon, opposing
I have
Saturn.
Uranus square my Aquarius sun. Yes. And you know what's so wild is just before, like I was saying, like I was just like, okay, we got to start recording because we were talking a lot. And I think that's so fascinating that you have Uranus square your Aquarius moon, my Aquarius sun, because both of us are Xennial women, right? We're Xennial women. We're born in that time just before millennial, but just on the tail end of Gen X, right? So we're right there, and both of us are very independent. Both of us are without children, so we have like sort of this sense of our own independence, or at least wanting this lifetime to be one that has that heightened independence to it in a way that previous generations just didn't even really have the same kind of choice that we do. And so, how fascinating that is a signature of Black Sheep, as you understand it, because I know that's the title of your talk, Signatures of the Black Sheep. So, a square of Uranus is one of the signatures that you would see.
It was one of many. Aquarius moon, Aquarius fourth house, squares to your moon by Uranus, or aspects to the moon with Saturn or Aquarius. There's a whole list. Strong 12th house influences also, depending on what's
Wow.
in there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so with Black Sheep, you see it as somebody who is breaking generational patterns. That's one way that you define it.
Right. Not just breaking generational patterns, but now I feel like we're in a phase where we are repairing those patterns. So with a trine from Uranus to Pluto in Aquarius.
Wow. Yes. Collectively, we might just be repairing some of those patterns as well. I know I've been talking for years. I'll tell you, I remember in 2017 saying in the middle of the 2020s, we are going to have the grand sextile. We are going to have this huge, significant aspect. And I've been talking about that, you know, Uranus trine Pluto energy. It's an air this time. So, how do you understand that? How do you interpret that?
Well, the air quality with Aquarius and Gemini. Gemini, what I love about Gemini is how Gemini is able to flip the script and see what's on the other side of the coin, what's going on in the other hand. And so the solutions, I feel like we're going to be able to come to a lot faster, and they're going to be a lot more systemic. So all these systemic problems that we've been subject to over so many hundreds of years, with the trine between Uranus and Pluto in these air signs, I feel like we'll be able to come to those solutions a lot faster, and it'll have a lot more sustainability to these solutions, like forever, hopefully. And then also the sextile to Neptune and Saturn in Aries. Like this is spiritual heroism on one side, and then just that oneness and that uh, initiation of so much healing as well. And like a lot of us have Chiron in Aries. So I feel like the energy that is going to be like moving along for over the next 20 years plus is going to allow a lot of healing to take place so that we in turn can heal one another. So I feel like it's super powerful. And one of the other brilliant astrologers that I've been, you know, resourcing, and he's amazing, is Mark Jones. And so I've been binging on his videos on Uranus and Neptune and Pluto and all the trauma that can come up, but all the trauma that is also the medicine. And so this medicine that we get from Uranus is, I feel like, hasn't had enough attention.
It's interesting that Uranus, you described it as medicine. And I'm thinking about how, yes, collectively, we're going to have this experience of Uranus. And this year, actually, August is going to be really big because we have this full moon in Aquarius. And under the light of the full moon, we have that like near Star of David energy that becomes like precise to the minute next year. But what we are going to have with precision is Saturn and Uranus both with precision sextiling Uranus in Gemini this year, this August. That is a really big deal of an energy. So that's amazing. But the aspect you were talking about, which is, I think, the main event, as big as an event this is, I think the main event is the fact that we are going to have this aspect that you were talking about, the near Star of David. Here we go. That's huge. That is big. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's harmonious. It's filled with promise. Whereas the energy of the chart in 2025, it has like that kite formation, and it has that sense of insight into what's coming forward. Here too, we get a kite formation, but in this case, the kite points to the moon. Whereas this year it's going to point to Mars. So no wonder there's all this, war and things. But when it points to Mars, it'll be Libra. When it points to the moon, it'll be Libra. And my hope is that brings diplomacy as well, right? To some of the things we're seeing happen in the collective. So what are your thoughts with this?
Well, with the Star of David, I'm sorry, not the Star of David, but the one coming up in August, 1 degree. I feel like that is an interesting degree because in degree theory, I connect it to, it's connected to Aries, which is ruled by Mars. And right now, I feel like we're in a process of strong individuation, and like really claiming our identity, like reclaiming our identity. And then next year, with the Star of David at 4 degrees connected to Cancer family, it's almost like a reunification of our soul family, our star family. It's really reshuffling us back into right relationship with the earth. Like, of course, Cancer is also connected to the earth and mothers and where we've come from. And like where we've come from is earth. Like we are earth. So a lot more reverence to honoring Mother Earth is a big one, I feel like. Diplomacy, yeah, I am super excited about this, and it will be during Cancer season. This one next year at 4 degrees. So, I mean, there's so much to pull from these charts. It's so exciting. This is another reason why, like, there's so much hope to hold on to rather than the doom and gloom.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to think I'll get rid of these charts here, but I think that what can be painful can become part of how we align with, what I like to call greater love and greater wisdom, because there are things in the world that are painful, that are scary. And like I said, I think we started off by saying, I've been looking at things that have been happening in the world, and you just feel so powerless as an individual when you look at it. And then in those cases, I think that's when you start to access the individual part of Uranus, right? Because as much as Uranus is about like this collective wave of thought, it is also an energy that is very much about individual human rights, right? And so that will be fascinating to see how that's interpreted, how that's implemented, where we might see equal rights, human rights, where maybe previously we did not see them before. And Jupiter involved next year in 2026, I think that will magnify the promise of this time, perhaps as well.
Absolutely. The human rights and Uranus is significant, and also in a way where we will reclaim our identity and really see how we fit into the grand scheme of things. Like everyone has their part to play
Mhm.
in this entire world, and not everyone's going to be at protests, not everyone's going to be on the front lines. There are going to be some people who are supporting and meditating from behind the scenes, and because everything is energy, people are able to put their energy in a very focused and serious way where they're creating, they're meditating, manifesting peace. And it doesn't have to be out in the open and dramatic. It can be quiet. Like heroism can be quiet. I forget who was the author of the quote, but Millie Michelle, Camille Gray posted this quote recently about Cancer, the Cancer new moon. So it's so true. Everybody has their part to play in this world, in this grand scheme of things. And as we become more authentic with our light and not, get rid of the shame around anything that we are passionate about, then we can shine brighter and attract those others who are working toward the same goal. So that connection with Neptune and Saturn, and all of the connections is just so beautifully being orchestrated for us to step into right now. So it's super exciting. And
Yeah. And I mean, Uranus can be that individual way of, understanding your own energy and directing it, but it can also be being on the front lines. And I love that you mentioned that, because bless those people who are on the front lines. And again, just before we started recording, we were saying, like, thank you to the social justice ancestors because of our rights as women, just to be able to be women who have the choices that we have, the options that we have to make our life in a way that just wasn't possible just a couple generations ago for women, and still is not for many women in the world to this day. And so there's this way in which it's a good idea for us to understand who we are, what we bring. And yeah, for some people, it's going to be being on the front lines. And if that's you, go for it. But it is when you do it from a place of faith or some measure of peace where possible, I think it can only make you more effective. And, I would like to think like what I do every day, even though I don't get specific with different political matters and things like that, I'm very, and the reason is because I think once you start saying that and making it about a cause, people stop listening. But I don't think it's really about a cause. What I think is actually going on is humanity. Being willing to see the humanity in each other is what is going to change the world. It's going to heal the world. It's what's going to bring peace to the world. It is when you understand that it isn't that you formulate the other in a certain way and then you say, no, they are the other. I'm not the other. I am the other. They are the, like, when you start doing that, it's getting so caught up in the superficial, when what I think is actually going to heal the world is to see the humanity in each other. I'll tell you, I saw this episode once, Black Mirror. Okay, Black Mirror on Netflix. I don't know if you ever watched the Black Mirror. Okay. I imagine that because I grew up watching these old reruns, black and white reruns of the Twilight Zone, of Rod Serling's Twilight Zone. And you can imagine for us now, when we watch those black and white episodes, we feel like, wow, that's really insightful. That's really clever. But the way in which we watch Black Mirror today and we get creeped out, it's like so unbelievable to us. That is what people felt in the 50s and 60s watching Rod Serling's The Twilight Zone. But having said that, there was this one episode I'll never forget, and it was how these soldiers were part of a program, and they had like some sort of a microchip in their brain, and they were going after these alien creatures who looked like cockroaches. And for one of the people, what ended up happening is there was a glitch in his chip. So because of that glitch, he was seeing, he was actually shooting, and he was realizing, wait a minute, these aren't giant cockroaches I'm shooting at. These are human beings. These are just people who are like destitute or poor or struggling or suffering. And the contrast within him, the pain within him, where he's glitching and he doesn't know which to believe. Should he believe the cockroaches that he's seeing, or should he believe when the cockroaches go away and it's just these people just like him, who look like him, who sound like him? And I think that that is the thing, right? That glitch in people, that is what I feel called to speak to heal in my own way, because I think that is at the root of so much of the suffering and strife that we see in our world right now.
Absolutely. I feel like it's a lot of deprogramming that we're going to be experiencing with Uranus and Gemini, also in a trine to Pluto.
So it's amazing how we have all these different ways in which we might feel called to contribute to healing in the world, right? I think that is part of the hope, that some of this energy might represent the leap of consciousness we need so that we can become part of solutions and moving us towards an understanding of our shared humanity.
Absolutely. I think we are all coming to clearer understanding of how things have been passed down. And we've been living through how and experiencing how hurt people, but now we are moving into how and experiencing how healed people can heal people. Because there's so many healers that are coming online and sharing their gifts and like learning and sharing their skills. So I think we are like bridging the two eras. So
Wow.
it's a lot to I don't know how you want to frame it, but like it's a lot to absorb and just like anticipate. It can be overwhelming, which is why it's super important to like keep ourselves grounded, as much as possible, because I feel like there's going to be so many leaps and bounds with Uranus in Gemini, making these like head-on aspects to Pluto and Saturn and Neptune. So it's exciting, and just staying grounded and hopeful is so important. Not getting sucked into the doom and gloom, because the energy, everything is energy. So keeping that energy up and holding the frequency. If we can hold a frequency for those who are not in a place that have that luxury right now, I think that will also help with the trajectory of humanity, of everybody, all humans.
Yeah, I mean, they say that it's exciting in its own way, right? Can you hear the sirens going off at all? Do you hear any sirens? My mic is pretty good, so that's great to know.
Yeah.
But I'm in the middle of a very busy area of Mexico City. And Mexico City is, along with Tokyo, these are the biggest cities in the world. So it's even bigger than New York City. And I love it. I love the energy and the excitement. But yeah, you do hear like sirens going off from time to time, but that's okay. It can be part of the fun. And that's when you get a really good mic to like block out those sounds. Yes, technology. Uranus. Technology right there. How perfectly timed. So once again, everybody, Eva is coming to Synchronicity University as part of the July 2025 speaker series. You've got literal days, if not hours left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class, to learn from Eva and these other amazing astrologers. And Eva talking about Uranus in Gemini. I can just see that you have so much to share, and I'm so excited about your talk. Thank you again for coming to the school. I'm super, super excited for it.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Nadiya. I'm like so excited.
Yes. Thank you again. And thank you everybody out there for watching. Until we connect again, take care. Bye.